There we go.
Live
Look
here
at that
too, man.
beautiful suit this man has on.
Thanks, man.
Look how I dress, and then look how he dresses. It's
Hey, man, it is a David Allen original.
It's a David Allen original. That's an
Yes, it
original.
is.
That's not just, there's nothing off the what they call that, off the shelf.
Off the shelf. I can't fit in off the shelf. I'm too awkwardly shaped to buy a suit off the rack.
He's too muscular. Hope you all had a good week, and thank you all for indulging us for an extra couple days here so we can get it into our schedule.
Yes.
Regrets. Let's talk a little bit about regrets.
Okay.
And I want to get your thoughts not only on regrets, but why we seem to be so inclined to live in our pasts, whether it's actually living in our past at times, or how much time in our head we spend living in our pasts, and how that affects us moving forward.
Oh, that's a tough one. Well, I mean, there's a million different ways I could go with this. I think
we got an hour.
I mean, I think if people are living in their past, like truly, like always reminiscing, always wishing they could go back, they're not happy in the present. Because I think if you're truly content with where you are, you can look back at the past fondly of the memories or from the learning experiences. But if you're truly like people that are living in the past, meaning they haven't let go of certain things from the past, they're constantly rethinking things or saying, "What if this would have happened?" Or what if I had done it differently? They haven't accepted the fact that they are where they are and they're not happy with where they are. So they're always looking at, well, if I could just go back and change something, things would be different. And I think that's just a wrong way to look at life. Like we transgress through life for a reason. There's certain things we learn along the way. Like I've never really looked back at life and regretted something.
I know this is going to be a tough conversation because I know how you're wired as an individual.
Yeah.
And you are very forward thinking.
Yeah.
And a lot of my life, I've enjoyed writing, so I'm very reflective. And so, I kind of like done the not the opposite, but I spent a lot of time trying to learn from my past, in a very detailed fashion. So we're kind of like at both extremes here, which neither are good or bad. But I do notice that there appears to be so much strife in the human condition, I believe, because we, and this is going to go right back to Stoicism, we create imaginary scenarios in our minds every day about what we believe the future is going to bring based upon experience we've had in the past.
100%. I mean, that is, in my opinion, probably the biggest problem. We look at the past, and I think part of the human condition is the belief that history repeats itself. So when we look back and say, well, this happened and I'm up against a similar situation, well, I already know what the outcome is going to be. When the outcome is never determined until it happens. Like, that's just how it works. If I go through something 2 times in a row, I could have 2 completely different results. They are truly independent trials. It's like the roulette wheel. And when you're in Vegas, they have the board up. The board means shit, but they know the human condition. The human, but this is the perfect example.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's the human. They know the human condition is to look at the board and say, okay, the last 4 numbers were red. I'm going to bet black this time. I'm going to bet 00 or 0 because it cannot be another red. But meanwhile, every spin is an independent trial. That is life. Every situation is an independent trial. But we look back at history and say to ourselves, oh, that can't happen again, or this is going to happen again. We're predicting the future based upon past experience that is decoupled from the actual outcome that's going to occur.
Yeah. And I think part of the human condition, the suffering, so to speak, is often imaginary. For one thing,
it's mostly imaginary,
but I think it's based upon a negative expectation of the future.
Oh yeah, I think a majority of it is Again, we create outcomes in our head that are always worse than when we're thinking of a situation that is not a positive situation, right? Maybe it's going to be a worrisome situation or something that could possibly bad happen. We create this scenario, like the worst case scenario.
Right.
It's like, what is it? Fear, false evidence appearing real. Like, That's what it is. We're creating this thing that it never really ends up as bad as we think. We're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. We've all done it. It is part of our wiring as humans. But I think if you learn to switch your framework and look at the world differently and create a positive frame of reference, you can eliminate that to a large extent, in my opinion.
I think you're right. I think it's such a rare skill, though, because I believe the affliction affects most of us. I mean, it's just part of the human condition.
That's part of our wiring. We're all wired with it. I think
we give into it.
We do. It's an emotion we give into. But I think if people, and this is where it comes down to, I think we have to really grow as an individual in any aspect. You have to get really in touch with your emotions and your feelings, not to my feelings are hurt. Understand why you feel a certain way. Understand the emotion invoked by a certain situation. When you understand it, you can control it. The problem is most people don't understand it. So it's unchecked emotion that's dictating the situation or dictating the thought process or dictating what they believe the outcome will be. Leaving those emotions unchecked creates all that turmoil and strife.
Yeah, because the turmoil and strife is predicated on uncertainty.
Yeah. Yes. Uncertainty, I think, is, in my opinion, the biggest cause of negative thought or fear in the human condition. The uncertainty. Because think about things you fear, right? Think about something you're afraid of. It's the uncertainty of it, right? Like, I don't like snakes. Like, I'm afraid of snakes. I have a fear of snakes. Like, I hate snakes. I can't even go to the zoo and walk in where the snakes are.
Really?
It's completely.
Wow.
It's a phobia I have.
Okay.
I don't like snakes.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I've never had a negative experience with a snake.
Yet.
I mean, I had one experience with a snake when I was in college. My fraternity brother had one, and I was sleeping, and he put it on me, and it crawled down my shirt.
Okay.
And I threw it off me and like beat the shit out of him. So not physically, but just like punched him a bunch of times. But that's the only experience. But in my head, I've created this. Snakes are gross. Snakes are bad. Snakes will bite me. Snakes could kill me. They're venomous. I'm afraid of them. But it's an emotion I've created.
Right.
I feel that I look at a snake and I'm like,
anxiety.
I get this feeling. It's like the worst, but it's purely false.
Right.
There's no factual basis that I have to give me that emotion.
Right.
It's purely created. And that's what we do as humans. Like we create these things in our head that aren't really real.
So why do we opt to do
that? I just think they're gross.
No, but not snakes. Right. I mean, why do we make that? Here we are with these decisions on how to formulate an expectation of an event. And it seems like, I'm guessing, but it seems like most of us, we go toward the negative side. We create the fear and anxiety and the apprehension, all that angst that comes with that.
Yeah. Well, so I think if we're talking about uncertainty, right? So when you have uncertainty in a situation, I think it is human nature to err to the negative.
Yeah. It's like, because the word uncertainty doesn't have a positive or negative spin to it.
Right.
We give it a negative spin.
Correct. So I think people have a hard time believing a positive outcome will occur for them.
Why is that?
I just think look at society today.
Okay.
Let's take a step back and look at it objectively. Any information you go that's supposed to be like news or journalistic, tell me the last time you saw good news. So our mind is completely being bombarded with negativity. Unless you seek out positive information on an everyday and ongoing basis, and if you're just letting information come to you, I would venture to say 75% of it is negative.
Right.
So it's hardwired in us. It's our default. So when we have uncertainty, walking down a dark hallway, there's an empty hallway. There should be nothing to fear. Most people are shitting their pants as like, what's down the hallway? What could be there? Right? The uncertainty of it. They don't know. The positive is not the default. The negative is. So they're looking down a hallway they can't see, and they're afraid because something bad could happen. Not something great could be at the end of the hallway once it gets to the darkness. It's shit, something bad's going to happen. That's the default. And that's why I think people are just wired that way. I don't know the reason. I think it's just because we're bombarded so much with negativity, especially over the past 10 years, where it's hard to, unless you're actively trying to reframe the way you think to a positive bent, it's your default is negativity.
No question. And that's where I think social media can be fantastic to try to alleviate some of this, because if you curate your timeline, your group of humans that you see on a regular basis to the best of your ability.
Sure.
Knowing that every third or fourth swipe, there's going to be an ad of some kind. But if you don't intentionally go seeking bad news, your ads will be curated in a way that shouldn't give you more of that. Maybe products you don't want, but not so much the political stuff if you don't go seeking it, right?
No, I agree.
So, because I never see, it's so funny, like people complain about political ads on social media, especially Facebook, or I see none of it. And it's probably because I don't go searching for it.
Right, yes.
But I do see products and certain things that I have no interest in buying. So they're annoying. But when I've curated that feed where, I've banned the people that needed to be banned, and I've unfollowed the ones that really just bring negativity. And I've got a really good, I think, a really good feed, right? I'm not inundated by that. So to me, my Facebook stream, can't say that about Instagram, but my Facebook stream is very uplifting for the most part.
Sure, I understand.
For the most part,
okay.
Right? I don't think that's the norm, though. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not saying I'm special, but I think that a lot of people have not curated their social media feeds to serve them.
No, I think a lot of people use social media as a way to engage in debate, engage in conversation, validate their opinion, feel a semblance of importance by just being engaged in a argument or taking a opposing viewpoint on something. And it's just they seek that. I don't want to say negativity, maybe controversy or conflict. They seek it out on Facebook, or they seek it out on social media. Like I look at my feed,
their line out.
Yeah, like my feed is mostly positive, or it's shit that the companies are trying to get me to buy that I end up buying. I mean, funny stuff. I'll tell you a funny story.
Right, treadmill desk.
I got a new one. I got a better one.
No.
Listen,
you bought another one?
Not a treadmill. No, not a treadmill. But I bought.
Oh man!
So the eclipse happened, right?
I guess
it was cool. Like we went outside and watched. It was cool.
Okay.
But like a couple days beforehand, I'm on TikTok and I'm seeing like all these people talking about the end of the world, the apocalypse. My daughter Melina is like, the rapture's coming. Like, what? I'm like, what are people talking about? So I'm on there, and then I get a video that pops up. This guy's talking about like survival gear.
Oh God.
Wait, just hold on, man. Hold on.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, survival gear. I'm like, I don't have any of that. Should I get some of this? I'm like, not saying the rapture's coming. I didn't think that at all, but I'm like, what if just something happens? Maybe I need survival gear. So I click on it. He has an Amazon like storefront where like all the stuff he's recommending.
He's a prepper.
Oh, sure, whatever you want to call it. So like I'm looking at him, like, add the cart, and I'm looking. So I got 3 things. There's all kinds of other stuff, like all kinds of other cool stuff. I bought 3 things. 3 things. Don't ask me why. I bought a pocket knife, which I already have, which is
okay.
I bought a big ass Rambo knife with a belt clip for some reason. No idea. It came in. Laura's like, what are you going to use that for? I'm like, to cut stuff. She's like, when have you ever used a utility knife to cut anything? I'm like, well, I'm going to start. So the jokingly, the next morning, I hooked it on my belt and was walking around the house with it. The third thing I got, which I can't wait for, it's coming Saturday, night vision binoculars. Oh no! So I told the other day she was leaving and she calls me. She's like, hey, there's something on the porch. I just start cracking up. She's like, why you laugh? I said, I think they're my night vision goggles. She's like, what? Are you kidding me? I'm like, no. I said, I'm not kidding you, but I don't think it's them. So I looked and I'm like, they're coming Saturday. Like I was uncontrollably laughing.
This make sense?
It doesn't make any sense. She's like, what do you need? I said, listen, when the zombie apocalypse comes and you can't see shit, don't come crying to me, because I'll be able to navigate through the night with my night vision goggles. That's the shit that social media does to me. I bought a utility knife, a pocket knife, and night vision goggles just in case the zombie apocalypse comes.
Yeah, I guess you can
do that. So there's
positive.
Some negativity in there, because I'm like, I'm thinking, okay, what if the shit hits the fan? I need only these 3 things. I didn't buy like prepper food. I didn't buy a generator. I didn't buy a fucking tent. I bought a small knife, a big knife, and night vision binoculars for no reason. Like, as I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, I'm an idiot. Like, why did I do this? But I'm also like, the little kid in me is like, I couldn't afford this shit when I was a kid.
No, I get that.
Now I have night vision binoculars. I can just look outside and see shit in the dark.
Don't you think most marketing decisions in this country over the last 50 years have been made on that exact premise?
Yeah.
I couldn't get when I was a kid, but I'm going to get it now.
Yeah. So that's my social media feed.
Well,
you need survival shit. Yes, I do.
Oh, man. See, he's really good to market to because he'll pretty much buy anything.
Listen, someone markets something to me right now. Someone comes to the door and is like, you need something? Yeah, I could probably see myself needing
So
that.
let me ask you a question. When the Girl Scouts would bring
I buy them all the time.
candies, yeah, I kind of figured that was the case.
But I usually buy them and send them to the troops.
Right on.
They have that
but
option.
You still buy them.
Because one, I want to just they're kids, and kids pull at my heartstrings. You can come if you're a kid and you come to my door with something to sell, I'm going to buy it.
You hear that?
I mean, I think everybody in my neighborhood knows that.
Like, you stop at the lemonade stand and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm typically like, I'll donate to anything. Like, the kids have always pulled me because I feel like I'm at the point in my life where I can do those things that can help, and like I couldn't always, and now it's like I have the ability to do. So I want to help as much as I can.
No, I get it. Okay, so we don't curate our social media feeds, and we wonder why we're inundated with negativity and we feel lousy. We sit on the couch and we watch. I just read today it's just a hair over 5 hours per day per adult in the United States.
Who the fuck has time to watch 5 hours?
That number
TV?
seems really high to me.
Yeah,
but that's what I read today. So let's just hypothetically say that's somewhat true.
But I think that number's skewed, and here's why. I think people leave television on in the background, and they're equating that as the number.
Could be.
So like, if I come home, say I get home at 7 o'clock, I'll turn the TV on. I'm not sitting down watching the TV till maybe like 9:30 for a half hour before I go to bed. But the TV may be on from 7 to 11. So it's showing our household watch 4 hours of TV. When in reality, it might only been a 30-minute episode.
True.
So I think that number is always skewed. So that when they say that, I'm like, I know a lot of people like, who sits there for 5 hours and watches TV? The majority of people. I don't think that happens.
Well, we're giving into, for lack of a better phrase, we're giving into the machine. We're just giving in our attention span to the inputs and have them. And then we wonder why we're so, as a society, we're so, I don't know, we're predisposed to be negative.
Yeah. I mean,
which doesn't help us with decision making or anticipating the future or.
Yeah. But like, unpack a little bit. If we look at it from a historical biological perspective, I think human beings had to have a negative bent just out of protection, right? For survival. So like, if I am an individual and I come across an animal, like an animal I haven't seen on the wilderness, if I have a positive, optimistic viewpoint, I'm going to try and go pet the animal. But if I'm wired to look at it negatively, I'm going to have caution and fear. Maybe that's part of our survival mechanism.
Big ass knife that you got.
Well, not also true. Like, I mean, if I have I have 2 survival knife.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yes.
You might be.
Assume it's not me. Assume it's someone else.
Okay.
That doesn't have their survival knife
or the pen knife.
But I think that's part of it, right? There's a survival component.
Which is probably goes, and that probably dates all the way back to the origin of man.
Yeah.
But I somehow seem to think that we, at some point in our development, really embraced negativity as a species, and we have to fight against that. Like, instead of the opposite.
Yeah.
Fighting against all the positivity to protect ourselves when we do need to protect ourselves, we have it reversed. We're fighting through all the constant negativity just to find some moments of happiness.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think it's easier to do than most people think, to be positive and to find the positiveness.
So too.
Positiveness, but I do think people are not inclined to do it.
Is it harder?
I don't think it's harder. I think it's easier to default negative.
Okay.
I think because it's the default, it's just easier to stay in the default.
Okay.
Working to see the good in everything does take a little bit of mental energy,
effort.
And mental effort.
Yeah.
And that's just a different level. like a different playing field. And most people, not most people, but a lot of people don't want to do that. Or may not even know how to do that.
I think it often requires you to ask the next question about a scenario.
Yeah.
And the next question sometimes to see if what you first ingested is actually negative or is actually the way you're feeling at the moment.
Yes.
We don't ask that next question very often anymore.
We don't ask the next
ourselves
question.
The next question.
Absolutely. And I think a big part of it too is we haven't, like this, to me, I come back to stoicism as truly a guiding principle. Sometimes you just have to accept what is and just be okay with it and like be with it. Whether it's neither positive nor negative, it just is. And most people don't think to do that or have built the ability to do that. I think if you can train yourself to look at things from a stoic perspective, it makes life a lot easier to navigate because you pull the emotion out of it, right? If a situation happens that you think is negative and I just accept it, that's what it is, I'm going to have a lot easier time navigating through that than you will, because the negativity rises cortisol, creates stress hormones. It does all kinds of shit to your body. Where if I just accept this is what it is,
it's clarity.
Exactly. I remain clear because I'm just accepting it as is and not attaching an emotion to it or a feeling to it. It just is. And that is a powerful thing, but it takes a lot of mental processing to understand it, to understand how to be that stoic about certain things. But I think if you're willing to do the work, that can truly change your outlook on life. It can change your life drastically. It's helped me tremendously navigate situations over the past 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, it's not in this amped up world. It doesn't feel like stoicism is within favor from most.
Well, because I think people equate stoicism without you don't have emotion.
That's
not it
correct.
at all.
No, it's not.
It is. I am not attaching emotion to something I can't control.
Correct.
And that's what people understand. Like I'm probably one of the most emotional people. I'm Italian. I'm passionate, but if I can't control a situation, I don't attach an emotion to it because there's no point. I have no control over it.
Correct.
That's what stoicism is. Like understanding that small little principle can truly change the way you operate throughout life.
Well, the irony of it is it's just what we spoke about. Most people don't understand that stoicism is not the absence of emotion, but to understand that it's not, you have to ask the next question.
Correct. That's exactly right. Yes.
It's no one's doing it. Because the default is stoicism. You're an emotionless.
No,
automaton or whatever they are.
No, it's not that at all.
No, but you have to really want to understand. It's where I want to ask about regret next. But to get back to stoicism, you have to want to have understanding and clarity. To seek it out, not just with this subject, but with anything. And I don't think we're doing enough of that in general on many aspects of our life. We're just not willing to put the time in to get to the next question, asking it of ourselves. Like, is this what I'm ingesting here? And as it's being presented, as it always seems to be presented when this subject comes up, is that actually the truth? And have I done enough due diligence for my own wherewithal to find out?
Yeah. I mean, it's simple. We just talked about this in the office because it was Jake was talking about. I just got the book. I started reading it. It's a book called Good Thinking. It's about critical thinking. But he was saying the same thing. Like people need to learn to critically think again. And I always say it's just asking the why or the how. Why is that? How is that? Like if you just ask that next question, you can really get into the root cause of certain situations.
Were we more inquisitive before 96 in the before times?
Yeah, because you had to be. You didn't have the access to information at the speed we do today. So to get information, you had to inquire. Now it's information's there. As long as I know what to query, I can get any information I want. And I can find any type of information to support what I already think I believe. That's the bigger problem.
Scarier thing.
That's the scarier thing. That is exactly right. The manipulation via information is outrageous right now, in my opinion.
Most definitely. But we can't, knowing that
Mhm.
or assuming that what you just said is true,
Mhm.
is all the more reason why we can never give up. Because I'm sure it's easy to give up and give in to the machine, give into it. I'm never going to know the truth, right?
Right.
I'm guilty. I've said
Yeah.
that before.
Yeah.
I've searched out various viewpoints
Mhm.
on a. So I just did this last week on a subject, and I read 4 different writers. 2 I knew their philosophical bent, and 2 I did not. I
Mhm.
explored it in their writing, and after an hour to an hour and a half on this, still confused and still not exactly sure I'm being told the truth.
Yeah.
And that's disheartening. I get it.
Listen, I understand that completely. And that's where we are in society, unfortunately.
Okay, regrets.
Yeah.
When you hear the word regret, what does it mean to you? Like, what is your definition of that word?
So that's a good question. If I had to define regret, I think I would say it is looking back at a past situation and wishing it would have had a different outcome. That's really, I think factually that's what it is. If I regret something from the past, that means I wish I would have made a different decision in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I regretted wearing this suit today, I wish I would have picked a different one out of my closet. Like, the regret is, I wish I wouldn't have done this, but I'm in it right now, and I could have changed it by doing something different. So that's how I look at regrets. Maybe it's the wrong way to look at it. That's just how I see it.
I think we're congruent there. I always, when I was younger, used to believe it was just something I wish had gone differently. You know, I was taking myself out of the blame equation. I was saying, "Oh, I just wish that would have gone differently for me." When I got a little older, got a little more sophisticated in self-examination, I started to take ownership of my prior circumstances.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the end all right there. As long as I take ownership, that's going to be great. I can live with my regret. Meanwhile, that was also unhealthy for me.
Okay.
Because I concentrated on the regret. And then I heard a guy give a speech years ago where it was not Jim Rohn, but he gave a speech where he had a tactical way, which you would love this. I wish I knew the name of the gentleman again. It'll come to me.
Okay.
He was talking about negotiation. He was talking about the art of conversation. And he said that when he encounters people who express regrets on things, he seizes the moment and from a manipulative standpoint goes for the kill, because in his eyes, that regret or that expression of regret, especially in a public setting or a small private setting, is a blatant act of weakness, emotional weakness that can be seized by others looking to take competitive advantage or a sinister advantage. So I started to view having regrets and definitely expressing them as being a weakness. And it changed the way I look at looking back at my life.
Yeah.
I don't give much thought anymore. I've really been able to look back at the things that I choose to look back and smile and laugh at some of the things I probably have, wish kind of went differently, but I don't live in the negativity of prior circumstances.
No, I don't know that I've ever done that. I think I've always been the type of person where I look back and say, okay, what did I learn from it? Like, I'm not going to do it again. So what lesson can I take from it? I can't remember, even when I was younger in high school or college, looking at a situation and saying, boy, I regret doing that. Like, even stupid shit I did, I never really had a regret. It's like, probably shouldn't have done that, but I did it. And you accept it. Like, I think the biggest thing with getting past regret is just accepting it, accepting what happened. I think regret stems from people's lack of acceptance of what has happened.
Very true.
That's if you boil it down.
Speak for my own.
Yeah, that's really it. I think it's you haven't accepted what happened, and so regret is, if I could go back and change it, if I could do it differently, I would have done this. You didn't accept what actually happened.
Yeah,
because if you accept what actually happened, then you're just in it.
Yeah,
and living in it and moving forward.
Yeah. And that goes back to that essay that I listened to where that guy was talking about it. He viewed it as a weakness. He says, when I see regret expressed by anybody, you know, because I view that as, you know, a weakness that can be tactfully
can be exploited. You can
exploited.
Yeah. So I don't maybe look at it as a weakness. I look at it as a person has left an opening that allows for manipulation.
I think it was just what he said.
Yeah, like maybe it's a weakness, maybe it's not. It was just, it may be unaware of it, but when you show that regret, it allows me now to look at a situation and understand how to manipulate it. Because if you're regretting about this situation, I can just press on that emotion.
And you know, it's also consuming a certain amount of rent in their head.
Yeah.
Space in there.
So they miss certain things.
Right.
And you can do certain things, and that's terrible to say, but that's how people operate.
Yeah. Well, to go back to you know, our ability to predict bad events in the future in our brain, we obviously wrap ourselves around regret of things that we've done or decisions we've made, and we anticipate that same event happening negatively somewhere in the future.
Yeah.
And we live with that.
We do. And I think one thing that has helped me in the past, you know, when I thought about regret, I can't remember where I heard it, if it was a book or if someone I spoke to, but they were talking about regret, and this person said, or I can't remember if it was a person or a book, but the gist of it was, if you have regret and you want to change something that happened in the past, assume where you are will not be. So what you see life as now will be completely different, and it's unknown. So would you rather go back and change something to go into an unknown situation? Could be good, could be bad. No one knows until you're there. Or accept this shit happened. Here you are. You know exactly where you are, and you know how to move forward. Like, which would you rather have? You know, you can go back and change a past decision to walk into uncertainty, or accept the past decision and live in the certainty of now.
Yeah. It's like you said earlier, it's just to reframe the thinking.
It's really what it is. It's
a
reframing of the thinking.
Do you think society pushes us to live in regret?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. What do you think about that? Because when you say push, like, what do you mean by, like, when you say society pushes? Like,
that's good. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Are there mechanisms in place that make it easy for us to live, some of us, or all of us, maybe at certain times within our life, to live in the past? I think that the proliferation of photography and pictures as we knew it throughout our life, and the way photos are used today as opposed to 30, 40 years ago, where pictures and photographs were a little more special within our life because they were expensive to get. Yeah. There was a component of getting them developed and all that stuff. But I think that photos now blend in with words and video, and our history, our past, everything is out there. We have this ongoing journal that causes us to look back all the time.
Okay.
Not always intentionally. Like, you know, I talk about reading my journals for the year, you know, between Christmas and the first of the year. That's a conscious decision to go back and examine my life for the year. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about on a daily basis, we're being inundated with what happened yesterday, the day before, 2 months from now, 3 months prior. It's like we're building this online life. Yeah. And it's there. It's there. And it's easily.
And you think that leads to the regret because it's
well, I think because we see and we experience more of our recorded lives, that we tend to we can't get past difficult moments in our lives that we may have had. They're right in our face all the time.
That's interesting, because I think I take less pictures now than I did before technology. Like, I take pictures, but I was just thinking about the other day, a couple like bigger events I've been to recently where in the past I'd have taken a lot of pictures. I didn't take any pictures because I was just living in the moment. So I think there's, you know, I think there are multiple pieces to this. yes, we have the ability to take a history of our lives, like instantaneously in our hands at all times,
which can be a wonderful thing.
Right. But do people really do it is the question. Like, how many people do you know truly in your sphere that take a ton of pictures on their phone? Of just life in general.
I honestly don't know. I mean, I see a lot of folks, a lot of my Facebook circle that have a lot of, photographs, of which I applaud. I mean, quite frankly, none of that bothers me at all. I see a lot of people taking pictures.
Okay.
I mean, it's more of a personal, either you're inclined to do it or you're not. But I think the point I'm making is that our lives are playing out. We're choosing to play out a lot of our lives and document it on platforms that are public.
Yeah.
And our ability to reference last week, yesterday, so forth, it's just like it's on its carousel. It just goes. It just goes. And it's part of our being. Our existing life and our past is very cognizant in our now for those that are on social media.
Okay.
Would you not agree?
Yeah, I do agree. I think, I don't know.
Yesterday was yesterday. Point.
Okay.
In 1995 and before, what happened the day before, unless you were a writer or a photojournalist or whatever you were, which is probably the small percentage of the population, but in 1995 and before, yesterday is gone. And you're living in today and you're making plans for tomorrow. And every day that goes by, and last month was last month, and last year was last year. And if you intentionally want to go back and, hey, let's look at Christmas pictures from last year, you would go intentionally try to find a couple slivers of memories to jog your memory.
Sure.
That's not how we live today. Our past, we cannot, for the most part, cannot run from.
Okay.
If you choose to enjoy social media for all the benefits of it, you have now a very public, documentary of your life. And I think it causes us at times, for those who indulge, it can cause you to relive your life over and over again.
Yeah, I mean,
indirectly, without even thinking about it. It's a different way to operate now. And maybe that's where I think some of this regret stuff comes from.
Yeah, but I don't know, because if I look back at pictures in my phone from like years ago or last week or last month, I don't ever regret something. Or if I see other people's stuff, like I don't regret it. It's just,
well, you're always happy, Rocco.
But no, I'm not always happy. I just think I don't look at it as, oh, I wish I had that, or I wish I'd have done this. It's cool to look back and have a history to show you like how much ground you've taken in life. But I don't ever remember a time where I regretted something. I look back and said, oh shit, like I should have done it this way.
No, I get that with you, but let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Once in a while you peruse Facebook, you've never seen people that take the picture from 4 years and go, oh, I still wish I could have had this car.
I see all the time.
Still wish I could fit into these jeans. Right?
Yeah.
You know, there's a prime example of it.
Yeah.
Right. It's comical once in a while, but it isn't just once in a while. It's a good amount of, and I wonder about those memory, the refreshing of memories.
Yeah.
Amazon does it. Google Photos does it. Facebook does it. Instagram does it.
But is it regret though? I mean,
I'm not saying I'm not saying they're telling us to have a regret. I'm just saying.
You're saying our natural reaction is regret.
Yes, most definitely.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. Like maybe partially, but I think, and I'll just speak candidly. I think you have a more pessimistic view about this than I do.
Maybe.
Like I think if I'm on my phone or something and I get shown a memory of something, like it's a cool memory.
Yeah, I think that's what they want.
It doesn't bring up regret to me.
That's what they want it to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I agree.
I can't say I have regrets of those memories here. They're triggers of generally happy scenarios, but I guess what I'm saying is, are we more inclined to be more regretful today in this society where we've got our past staring us in our face all the time? We live today. We're not going to forget about it tomorrow. You see what I mean? It's there. It's freaking there. Lots of mementos of everything. It's right there.
Yeah, true. But I don't think it's the majority of people. I don't. I don't think the majority of people sits around and just, looks at it negatively.
Okay.
I think there are people that do it, but I think I think life moves so fast now that yes, we do have regret in this country, right? And we talk about that, but I think because life moves so fast, regret's different than it used to be.
Okay.
It's not as taxing or tolling. It may be a fleeting moment of regrets, but it's not like, think about when, 20 years ago, when you regretted something, it was a deep cut because we didn't have the access to
time to dwell on
You had
it.
time to dwell on it. You didn't have access to technology to kind of bring, because a lot of times I think where social media can help is if people reflect on a situation and have regret, but social media has a record of it. Sometimes they'll go back and look at the record, like, it wasn't that bad. Like, why am I regretting this? It wasn't that bad. It actually ended up turning into something good. So it does help. I think the social media side of it does help us create a record in a history of what has happened to then either validate our regret or debunk our regrets. And I think that's a helpful thing to have.
So you're saying putting a little time and space between events maybe help us to rectify them.
Yeah, I think look, is it human nature when you do something stupid in the moment, your instant reaction is regret. But I don't believe that's true regret. I believe that is an, oh shit, I screwed up.
Just a cringeworthy moment.
Yeah, it's a cringeworthy moment because regret is really, you've reflected on it and you are wishing for a different outcome.
Right.
Because you think, and where I think regret comes in is you are wishing for a different outcome because you're hoping where you are now would be different.
Right.
That's the key piece. Like looking back and saying, I wish I'd done it differently.
Right.
Is not necessarily regret. It's reflection. Regret is, I wish I would have done it differently because I'm not happy where I am. That's regret. Reflection is just looking back and saying, I could have done that differently. Yeah. Regret is, I wish I would have done that differently because it would have caused X.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
So I don't know. I mean, looking back and just saying, that was dumb, I could have done differently. I don't think that's regret. That's reflection. Because I'm not saying I want to change today. Like, I'm not saying, I wish I would have done it differently so I wouldn't be sitting here today. It's just like, I could have done it differently. But if I say, hey, I wish I wouldn't have gotten my car and drove here because I don't want to be here, that's regret.
Certainly.
I'm regretting the decision to come here.
Yes.
If I'm just like,
no, I get that. And I'd imagine too, you're raising young ones. Yeah. Not so young anymore, but
no.
But there's got to be a balance there in regards to learning from one's prior work or regretting one's prior work.
Yes.
There's got to be a balance there.
Yeah, I tell all of my kids and Ellie, now because she's kind of in that 14, right? She's in that critical learning period. Yeah, God love you, thank
man.
you.
God love you, man.
Appreciate it. But I love her. She's an awesome human being, but I always tell her, don't regret anything you do. Good. Like, don't regret. Like, if you make a mistake, that's okay. You just learn from it. Never regret a decision you made. You made the decision in the moment for a reason.
Right.
There was a reason you did it, even if it was a true reaction to something.
Right.
You still made the decision. Don't regret it. Reflect on it and learn from it.
Yeah,
that's what we should be teaching kids.
It's a fine line.
Because regret is a
doesn't serve a purpose.
Serves no purpose. No positive. You go into a downward spiral. I think you just got to try.
You can't go back either. I mean, although I do think that we know how to go back in time. The physics says it can be done.
I still.
I'm gonna get you on a show someday where I'm gonna have mathematicians going to sit there and prove it.
But no, but I honestly again down a rabbit hole real quick. I still think it's possible because I look at just my adult life, how fast technology has changed.
Right.
We have AI right now.
Yes.
I'm 46 years old. We have AI.
Yes.
When I'm 106 years old, what will we have?
Who knows?
3,000 years in the future, what will it have? You could be a fucking time traveler. You could be somebody from 3 years ahead, 3,000 years ahead, and I have no idea.
And that's the argument.
Right. What if I am?
I could be.
What if this suit is from the future? Just saying.
I think it might be.
Maybe I'm bought the night vision goggles because I know something's coming.
Well, that is the argument, isn't it? Like, if there's going to be time travel, if it actually is possible, then where are the people in the future that have come back to say hello?
Yeah, maybe they won't tell
that's
us.
the big question.
But maybe it's the butterfly effect. They don't want to tell us because it would change the future.
Or it's not possible to come back in the same time plane. If reality is a thin slice, and there's an infinitesimal amount of slices, and we're all one slice. Our world is one little slice.
Yeah.
When they come back, they come back at our parallel slice, and we can't reach them.
My brain starts bleeding when we start talking about this because it's so fascinating to me. Because I think there are so many. They were busting my balls in the office. Like, do you believe there's aliens? I said, do you guys believe we are the only beings in this entire universe? Like, I didn't believe that in the past, but when you take a logical approach to it, we are saying that we are the only living organisms in this entire vast universe. Why are we the only ones? Like, it's a pretty bold statement.
Human arrogance.
No, there's religious to it. There's religion to it, right? And we believe that God is a creator, and I am religious. And I do believe that, but God could have created a lot of other stuff too that we don't know about.
Exactly.
And I just think we don't truly know.
I mean, the one. We went from regret to aliens. God love this show.
I regret talking about aliens.
But
we're here.
Well, we have, so I'm not a mathematician, didn't do well in math, but I understand broad concepts.
Okay.
Because I always ask the next question.
Yeah, right.
Or try to. The point is, if you just look at the basic mathematics of hundreds of billions of rocks out there, then you got hundreds of billions of galaxies.
Yeah.
With hundreds of billions within each galaxy. The numbers are so fantastical.
Yeah.
There's just the probability of us being alone out here is laughable.
But isn't that, when you really think about it, isn't that kind of a scary thought? Like, it's weird to think about that, right? Because we do think that we are the only ones in this universe, but there could be people hovering above Earth right now just watching us. Like, we have no idea.
Oh, they're laughing.
Yeah, I mean,
they're watching America right now.
They're like, what are these people doing?
And they're all having regret.
Right. Like, can we just go back to our home planet? This place is a shit show.
Yeah, we've let these people fester for all these years. Now we have regret that they're going to cause some disruption in the interplanetary galactica nation here because the Earth people just don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yes, that's exactly right.
All right, we've degenerated. We've gone from regret to
aliens.
But another great conversation. Yeah. My head always hurts when we get deep like this.
Yeah, but I think that's the whole point of conversation, right? To go.
Absolutely.
I think you have to challenge the way you think. Like, that's what I love just about conversation with anyone in general, especially someone that has a different viewpoint. It challenges the way you think. And it gets you to look at situations from a different angle.
And we don't do that enough in society in general.
No.
On our day in, day out life, right? I mean,
we have confirmation bias.
Right. It's like we're surrounded by great people in our work lives and our personal lives. I'm sure everyone out there is as well, too.
Yeah.
And it isn't that people don't want to have solid conversations or in-depth conversation. We just don't make it a daily part of our lives.
No.
Every year seems like it's less and less. It's more remedial, everything we're doing.
It is. And I think if we, as as part of the human condition, we engage in more fruitful discussions about just things in life and the way we operate, I think we'd realize a lot of us think the same. A lot of us want the same things, and there's not as much strife in the world as we're led to believe.
I hope after whatever was it, November 11th or whatever the election day is, I hope the next day, if I have any hope for what happens, regardless of who whatever philosophy wins the election, that the other side doesn't win, can take a deep breath and say, okay, we'll have another shot in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Our philosophy is not in the majority now. Let's ride this out, but don't go to war. I mean, this is just, and in terms of like, we just don't need that. We don't have to be in strife with each other over philosophy. It's crazy.
No, it's crazy. We can have different beliefs. We're allowed to. That's the whole point of this country.
Want that?
Yes, you do. That's how you come up with ideas. And that's how you solve bigger problems.
I would think.
But we, like I said, confirmation bias is what we seek, and that's an unfortunate thing in this country right now.
Yeah, I really hope. I mean, I know this isn't a song good coming coming from me, but I actually am hopeful that at some point in time we're going to collectively say enough is enough, and just not pay it. I would like to see us not pay attention to the forces out there trying to divide us based on philosophy. At some point in time, ebb away from giving them the attention they need, so they can go back to reporting on actual news,
right? Yes,
or something that's not going to titillate from every breaking news thing.
Yeah,
breaking news. Come on, we're smarter to know that that's not reality.
Yeah, just tell me the facts. Don't give me your opinion of the facts.
Yeah,
that's what we need to get to.
Point,
journalism.
At some point in time, I think that I believe that we have the ability to come back from this. I just don't know if we will.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I hope we do, but only time will tell, my friend.
All right, man.
Cool.
As always, thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again next week.
Yes.
Why does my head hurt?
I don't know, man.